Hello again. Told you I'd be back soon. This video, as I just explained in the last video, is my top 5 most hated horror films. So you were intrigued as to what my favorite ones were? I'm sure you're even more intrigued as to what films does Justin hate in the horror genre. Well, you're about to find out. So without any further ado, let's get this show on the road. Coming in at number 5 as my most hated horror film, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 4, the new edition, the one with Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger. I just recently watched this last year. In fact, I watched all the Texas Chainsaw Massacres, and it is quite a trip. I found myself going very much up and down, up and down, up and down on the series. I would actually go as far to say as it kind of flows like that, to be for being honest. I like the first one. Yeah, I like the first one. Didn't like the second one. Third one was decent. Hated the fourth. Remake with Jessica Biel was good. The one after that was crap. And I think Leatherface was crap. But we're here to talk about my most hated. Jeez, I keep saying least. Most hated. Straight up. A lot of people don't like Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation. As they should. As they shouldn't. Right away, if you do a simple Google search and you come across Wikipedia, you will find out that this movie was made with only $980,000. You know how much it made? Less than that. And it was released twice. So the reason that this movie is bad, the reason I hate it, where do I even begin? So it doesn't really pick up anywhere. That's the problem. It doesn't pick up from the third one because it's so different. There's new characters. We don't really find out who Matthew McConaughey's character is until halfway through the movie. And even then, you're not really sure why he's there. It's even more confusing as to why he's there than anything. Is he connected to the family? Like the Sawyer family is supposed to be twisted. We don't really know if Matthew McConaughey's part of the family, and I think we find out that he isn't, so he's technically using them. You see what I mean? So right then and there, right away. Also, I've never seen many Matthew McConaughey films, I'll be totally honest, but he's just a bit erratic in this, and I understand he needs to be because that's the type of film that this is, but like, it's so erratic that it's hard to follow, as I just explained to you. Like, you don't know who he is, and even after you find out why he's there, you're still kind of like, well, who is he, and why is he there again? Another reason I don't like the film is because, again, it lacks serious connection to the other 3 films. Sure, they try to mention people, but like, it just does, like, it's called The New Generation, or Return of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but I think that's the problem. Like, it's a return because it's got Leatherface in it. There's another thing I'll address in a minute. The other thing I don't like is the fact that it just kind of tries to bank off the other 3 with the whole like dinner table scene, because that's become one of the most iconic things in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, aside from this guy over here. And that's, of course, the iconic dinner table scene, right? So when the fourth one tries to recreate it, again, it's just too messy, too erratic, too over the top for me. It lacks direction. As messed up as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre films are, they all sort of have a plot, right? There's a plot there, and there's a plot to The Next Generation. But I would argue that the plot gets extremely lost in the shuffle in the fourth one. Like you think you know what it's about, then it takes a turn, and you're like, okay, so it's about this. No, it's about okay. Um, let's talk about Leatherface in the fourth one, shall we? Because technically, the whole reason that Texas Chainsaw Massacres are continuous is the fact that the only returning character in any of them is Leatherface. Even though he seems to get killed in the second one, but somehow returns in the third and fourth. Heck, the third one's called Leatherface. My problem in this one is he looks like the mother from My Big Fat Greek Wedding. He's very misogynistic and not misogynistic. He's very he's womanized. They make him look like a woman in this. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. Holy crap! I apologize. He wears makeup. He wears a like even a wig over his hair. And I guess the portrayal was to make him look like Madonna. Like, look it up because Madonna was big around this time, right? And I guess my obvious question is why make him look like a woman? Like, why make this film even more fucked up and twisted? I was going to refrain from swearing, but fuck it. um, why do you make Leatherface dress up as a woman? And not only is it the wig, not only is it the makeup, not only is it the mask, but he dresses up in a dress too. And I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess my question is why is it in the film? Why does it need to be there? Is it just to make the film even more messed up and twisted? Is it giving him a new dynamic to add to his character? Why does he do this? You don't really know. Another reason I don't like this film is just because like all these new characters. Like why should I care about this character? Why should I care about this character? I care about more about the people that are getting hurt by the Sawyer family than I do the Sawyer family. So yeah, that's my top. That's my number five. Number four, because I'll stop talking. I could just go on about that film of how much I hate it. My number four most hated horror film, Mausoleum, 1983. I almost left this off the list, and then I remembered it, and I was like, I have to include that. So, it might be a little obscure to some people. So, Mausoleum is about this girl who her mother's killed by this presence. Excuse me. And you find out that she was actually killed, and there was a curse placed on it. And the little girl goes into the mausoleum, or the crypt, if you will, and she encounters the spirit of the essence that killed her mother. And she is cursed. But she's okay. Until 20 years later, she's in her 30s and she's married, and the curse starts to come out. And she can manipulate things with like psychokinetic powers, I guess, and she makes a guy burn up in his car. She also uses sex to lure her victims and kill them. So she pretty much cheats on her husband. But eventually she ends up killing people, right? That's the end game here. Heck, there's even sex in it, right? The main character, she gets naked, but you know what? That's not enough to convince me that this is a good film. The acting is bad. The beast that she turns into is just, in my opinion, it's bad. It's awful. The whole like plot is just corny and cheesy. Like if she were just cursed and like small like things like what that made The Shining good, right? Like that slow burn possession, that would work. But that's not what this film is. Mausoleum is far from The Shining, and it's just the acting. The actor, I think her name's like Bobby Breezy. God bless her. Like she tried, but it just falls so flat to me. It falls so flat on its face, and I think she ends up killing her husband, of course, towards the end, and she ends up getting killed. I think it's just a really bad film, and I remember not wanting to watch it simply because, like, when a girl's mother dies, and I'm like, oh, the timing of this is lovely, so I pushed it aside, and then when I watched it, I was like, dear God, this is fucking horrendous, right? And I watched all the way to the end, knowing how bad it was from the beginning. But I stayed with it, So that's my number 4 most hated horror film. Now, number 3, number 2, and number 1 are probably going to be. I'm probably going to get some controversy for it. But you know what? Bring it. My number 3 most hated horror film is Halloween 2018. The remake with Jamie Lee Curtis. But Justin, Halloween is a classic. Yes, the original is a classic. But Justin, this isn't the Rob Zombie one. No, I actually love the Rob Zombie one. And I would actually prefer the Rob Zombie one over the original. So with that being said, why the fuck was this movie made? I'll just come right out with it. And I'll be blunt and brutal about it. Why was it made? The reason I hate this film is because they completely disregard any of the sequels. This film is supposedly said to have taken 40 years after the first film. So they disregard the second, the third, the fourth, Resurrection, H2O. But I don't. I don't disregard that because when this movie came out and I saw Jamie Lee Curtis, my immediate question was, didn't she die in H2O or Resurrection? I don't even remember because I don't follow them, but she died in one of them. But then the producers, I guess there was a huge thing between Blumhouse and a couple of other studios that wanted to try to buy the rights back. Because after they had seen Halloween 2 by Rob Zombie, they were like, we need to get our own series back up and running. So they made this film. And I remember the first words out of my mouth was, didn't Jamie Lee Curtis die in one of them? Sure she did. I even had someone on Twitter try to say, oh, it's a different universe. No, the fuck it isn't. Jamie Lee Curtis was in the original. So if they're bringing her back, obviously that means it's a continuation of that. But she died in one of them. Now, this can the easily offered explanation of this is, oh well, it's a different timeline, or it's a continuation, and they're just disregarding all the other ones because they weren't as good, or they're starting from scratch, or Justin, it's a horror film. What does it matter? I defended you guys against me. That's what I just did. Despite all of that, I still hate the damn film because Jamie Lee Curtis died in the film. You can't disregard that. You can put it down on paper and you can tell me to my face. But the point of the matter of the fact is, however the saying goes, as far as I'm concerned, just because she died in the films, you can't just freaking bring her back. But Michael Myers comes back. Fine. Let's end that conversation there. The other reasons I don't like this, it doesn't end here. They made 2 more fucking films after this. Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. Why? As if it weren't bad enough that you're bringing Jamie Lee Curtis, who you freaking killed him 15 years ago in one of the films, you make 2 more. So here's your bonus. I mean, I could easily have put 3, 4, and 5 as Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, but I wasn't going to do that. The reason I don't like Halloween Kills, besides the fact that the first one didn't need to happen, Tommy Jarvis, who's played by Michael Ian Hall, no, the guy from the Dead Zone, whatever his name is. He has 3 names. Sue me. Tommy Jarvis. Besides Laurie Strode, Tommy Jarvis is known as one of the most legendary characters of the Halloween series, right? Aside from Michael Myers and Laurie Strode. They kill him off. He gets killed off. So we're going to bring back Laurie Strode. We're going to bring back Tommy Jarvis, even though he's never been played by this particular actor. Kill him off. And how is he killed off? Is another thing I hate about this freaking franchise rebooted. The town pretty much comes together and they surround Michael Myers. By the way, Michael Myers' mask, the William Shatner mask, it's off his face. Here's another thing I don't like about this film before I get into the other reason. In Jason, when we first see his mask off, we're terrified, right? We're like, oh my God, he's disfigured. Well, we already knew that. And then even in other films where he's like a skull or he's just like this mutilated mess, it still works. It's scary. It's fucked up. It's twisted. It's why we love horror in the franchise. In this film, Michael Myers is his mask is off. And what do we see? An old man with gray and white hair who has this look of anger on his face. It's just some regular dude. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't give us any satisfaction whatsoever. On top of that, the city has surrounded him. It's a mob, and they beat him to death. Beat him to death would mean that they beat him to death, right? But it's Michael Myers. But we just see that he's a regular man. See, this is the other part I don't like about it. If he has the mask, hear me out. This might make sense to you. This might not make sense to some of you. If he has the mask on and he's getting beaten to death, but he's not actually dead, it works. It's Michael Myers. We know it's Michael Myers because he has the mask on and they're kicking the shit out of him. But with the mask off, it's just them beating the shit out of some old dude. And you kind of sort of forget who they're beating the crap out of. But he's not dead. And then he puts the mask back on and kills all of them. Okay. On top of that, Jamie Lee Curtis' estranged daughter, who I didn't even know she had at this point. But again, it's rebooted, so who gives a crap, right? She's killed off because they're like, oh, we're going to bring back Jamie Lee Curtis. But this film's about her getting the triumph. But we're still going to kill off her daughter that we didn't even know she had because the sequels are being disregarded. So, you see why I hate this film? Oh, and it's only number 3. So yeah, number 3, most hated film, Halloween 2018. And now number 2 and number 1. I had a bit of trouble trying to put which one should I put first, which one should I put second. My number 2 most hated horror film. I'm still doing it now. My number 2 most hated horror film is The Fly. Now, I have been on public record saying I hate body horror. So that's why I hate this film. I hate body horror. Anything with David Cronenberg outside of Videodrome, Scanners, and there's another one in there. A little more recent. If it's David Cronenberg and it's not one of those 3 films, I will likely hate it. First time I ever saw The Fly, I don't remember how old I was, but holy shit. The Fly is the type of horror film that your parents should shield you from when you're a kid and when you're a teenager. Let's be honest. You can't tell me it's not. The beginning of the film is fairly fine because, nothing crazy or messed up happens. But that transformation of Jeff Goldblum, oh my fucking God. Like, oh God. And I know what you're thinking. If me thinking about it is getting me this upset, why is it only number 2? Because it's a personal preference. My only defense of The Fly is that there's a plot there. It follows itself all the way through, right? The only reason I don't like it, the reason I hate it, is because I don't like body horror, and when he turns into the Fly, it's just fucking gross to me. I'm sorry. It freaks me the fuck out, and it's I don't think I've ever gotten towards the end of the film. Did I? I don't remember. I really don't remember. Also, this is a remake of The Fly with Vincent Price. You may remember. That one even freaks me out because it's this giant fly head. No, no. There are some things you just shouldn't do, and let's not do that. just the mutilation, the sliminess, like it's all just gross. That's really my only. That's the only reason I got for you is I don't like body horror, so I hate the film because of that. But what's number one? My number one most hated horror film, ladies and gentlemen, Hereditary. I didn't see that one coming. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're thinking? You didn't see it coming? Why do I hate Hereditary? Well, if it's for the reason you think, you would be wrong. You'd be partly wrong. So, Hereditary, for those that have never seen it or forgot or want to know why what it's about and why I hate it is it's about this woman, Toni Collette, who has a daughter and a son, and her mother dies. And they show pictures of the mother, and immediately I always remember picking up like there's something about the mother. I always thought that maybe the mother was gonna like come back to life or like something like Pet Cemetery. No. So basically, you find out that the mother, Toni Collette's mother in the film, was a part of this like witch cult coven type of thing, and basically like Toni Collette tracks this down. She finds out towards the end, but that's not the fucked up thing about the movie. Of course, we know that, right? I don't like the ending. The ending to me makes so little sense, and it's just so fucking ridiculous that everything prior to it, and there's a couple of scenes that are pretty messed up. It just, I'm talking too fast, so I'm gonna slow it down a little bit. Um, in the beginning, we find out that her mother was a well, we don't actually know that, but we find out that her mother was a part of a witch cult coven type of thing, right? If that was the only thing about this film, they could have done a slow burn, they could have done the two fucked up things, and it could have ended like this in a fashion that wouldn't be confusing to the viewer, at least to me. But that's not what happens. The girl, the daughter, goes to a party with the brother because the brother's older, he wants to go to a party. On the way back, the girl sticks her head out the window, and we all know what happens. She hits the pole and gets decapitated. And yeah, it's one of the most fucked up scenes you've ever seen in a horror film. That doesn't bother me. The part that bothers me is the fact that he takes the fucking head home, puts it in the bed, and acts like nothing happened. Like, that's not even why I hate it though. That's only like the third reason I hate it. Because that's a really messed up thing to do, you know? Then, at one point, Toni Collette gets possessed, I think, by her mother. I really don't know at this point. Uh, she gets lit on fire. And then, of course, there's the ending in the treehouse where the mother, where the daughter goes into the dead daughter goes into the spirit. Is that them now? Sorry about that. Uh, the dead daughter goes into the spirit of the son. And then we see the grandmother up there too. It's some weird kind of ritual, some righting of wrongs. It's weird. I can't make any sense of it. Overall, it's just, I hate this film. I hate it because it starts off with its one direction you think it's going to take, and then of course it takes a hard right. And you're like, okay, though, I can accept that. But then it takes another hard right. And it's just like, it's really, to me, it's what really goes downhill for me in that film is when he brings his sister's had home, and he puts it in the bed. It's just, or he brings her body. We just one of the two. It's so fucked up, and the film's just not the same after that. Which I suppose is the direction the director wanted it to go in, but it just doesn't work for me. It tries way too hard. It's just So there you have it. My top 5 most hated horror films. What do you think? Are you in disagreement with me on any of these? Let me go over the list. I imagine just based off of my own before I end this video, let me see where I would have controversies with or debates with people. Number 5, I probably would because I actually remember this girl on Instagram a few months back saying, "Oh, Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The New Generation, that's my favorite of the series," and I literally looked at her page on her comments like, why? But everyone has their own preference, right? Everyone has their own opinion. There is that secret society that's I forgot to mention this when I mentioned the Texas Chainsaw Massacre new generation. It's implied that there's a secret society, and that's why Matthew McConaughey is placed in the Sawyer family house. But you don't really get an explanation of it, which makes it all the more confusing, right, and bad. But I guess a lot of people like it, and it's developed a cult following because of this reason. So I'm like, okay. But even then, I need more answers in order to like something, right? Mausoleum, most of you people haven't even seen, so disregard that. Halloween, I already defended that for you, so you're welcome. The Fly, I mean, I pretty much beat that one to death, didn't I? Either you like body horror or you don't. Hereditary, I imagine I've come across some comments on social media. It's kind of a mixed bag, right? I've seen some people say, "What's your favorite horror film made in the last 10 years?" And people go, Hereditary. And I've also seen the same people, "What's your least favorite horror film made in the last 10 years?" And they say Hereditary. And I say Hereditary with them because it's just a conundrum of a film, isn't it? So there you have it, my top 5 most hated horror films. And do stay tuned as I will have another video for you in the coming days, and I will actually try to get the name of that video out to you right now while I can. The last time I didn't because I had to dip because my tablet was going to die, but I can actually tell you this time. The next film that I will be doing will be on. Oh, we have another top 5. Wouldn't you know it? My top 5 most underrated horror films. What do you consider underrated? I'm going to let you know during my next video. But until then,